Time to light the match for the burning truth with Casey Hendrickson.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning into The Burning Truth. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson, and this is a little unique for us. We have Ballistic High-Speed, which is a YouTube channel, and they're actually based in Fort Wayne, which is rare because most of the gun channels are based in Austin, Texas, but we've got a great channel here. You guys are at, what, 669,000 subs right now, so you're trying to get to that million mark, which we're going to hopefully help you get a little bit closer to that today. But we've got Adam, we've got Bryce from Ballistic High-Speed. How you guys doing, man?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in, and they drove all the way down from Fort Wayne.
I mean, it's not that far.
I know. We just like making it seem like it's
Indiana folk were used to just driving everywhere.
You know, when I first moved here from Las Vegas and everybody's like, oh, I don't want to drive there. It's like half an hour away. I'm like, well, going to a 7-Eleven where I'm from is at least a half an hour commitment. So it's for me, it's not that bad either, but people still complain about it. So I guess let's just start with the basics. What is Ballistic High-Speed? What do you guys do?
Well, Ballistic High-Speed was born out of, I would say, boredom during COVID. That was a big part of it. And kind of both of our passions in what we are kind of the best at in our own worlds. So I've been in high-speed imaging in general for, 8 years at least. And it was always, I would mix it into commercial productions I would do. I would sometimes film, little research projects for, universities or companies or whatever. And then right before COVID, I had just invested in a little bit faster of a camera that was capable of capturing ballistics, explosives, bullets, things like that. And so I was looking for somebody that could help supply the other half of that, and just kind of fell into, what Adam does, which I guess, he can obviously talk about, but he is pretty much the ballistic half and I am the high-speed half. So it worked out pretty well. It just happened to form right during COVID.
So did you guys know each other beforehand, or did you just link up again kind of with the COVID?
Pretty loosely.
You did a music video.
Right.
And then, we just stayed connected on Facebook.
Okay.
And then I saw him post, and he was like, hey, I got this new camera. Does anybody have guns and a little bit of land? Because I haven't done that yet. And I live like an hour out of Fort Wayne. I was like, if you want to drive an hour, sure. And he was like, okay. And he just drove down.
Yep.
Now, do you guys usually film in Fort Wayne, or do you travel?
It's all in Wabash.
Yeah.
Wabash.
Yep.
Okay.
I live in Wabash. The range is at my gun shop, and so I maintain it down there.
So it started with one video, right? And then you guys, when did you get to a point where you're like, hey, we got something here, let's just do like a
almost
full channel?
Almost
After the first
immediately.
video.
Yeah.
So you did it one time.
Yeah, so I had this new camera, and he had, I want to say, 12 to 15 different firearms, handguns, rifles, shotguns, whatever. And so I just wanted to capture muzzle exits at 100,000 frames per second, see what that looks like between those different calibers, because it was still new to me at the time. I just wanted to film it myself. And so we filmed 12 to 15, like super clean white background, very sharp imaging, and put that in a nice sort of, back then it was when everything was still square on Instagram.
Right.
And put it in a nice format, really good sound design, sound effects, and then just put it up on Instagram, put it up on Facebook. And like overnight, it was like already hitting millions of views, and I'd never done anything that had done views like that ever. So it was really new to me. And it was just nonstop growth, and that was when I learned the lesson of watermarking your really good work, because it was shared everywhere. If you have any sort of interest in firearms at all, you've probably seen the video. It was everywhere, and
I still see it from time to time.
Right. So that was pretty much a conversation between me and him. It was like, what do we do with this newfound like niche, super specific niche that I don't think people are really delivering on well enough on the internet. Otherwise,
Sure.
It wouldn't have been that, unique. So it was kind of we just immediately forged the name Ballistic High-Speed out of it, because that's just what it is.
Well, and you guys kind of, that's what you do, but there's other channels that are obviously, gun channels or ballistic channels, and occasionally they'll have somebody come in with a high-speed camera.
Right.
But they have to rent it, or they have to have, a collaboration or something like that.
Exactly.
But you guys do that all the time.
Yep.
So that's your content. Now, Adam, you're a veteran, correct?
Yep.
So that's where the ballistic kind of component comes in, because that's kind of your background. I assume you had a background just being from this area before the military as well. So how do you guys kind of decide what you're going to do? Because you do a lot of bullet splitting stuff. Latest video is actually kind of funny because you mentioned that we just sort of like fell into it, went viral one day. And Morgan and I were talking, and I'm like, I watched this video, and she's like, no, I actually know those guys. So that's why you're here right now.
Yep.
So when you guys are formulating your content, like what does the process look like when you're doing that for your channel?
We are probably going to not switch how we do it. It's kind of getting to the point where the productions, we kind of need to actually sit down and storyboard and come up with lists, because with sponsorships, you'll have to work with 5-6 different companies by the time you can pull it together. But honestly, a lot of the time, it's just he'll come over to my shop, we play pool, and just come up with ideas.
So you guys are still very much just kind of like doing this very casually.
We don't write scripts. We don't really do anything. We just kind of, we have the general theme, and then I'll know what I need to build or have ready on the range. And then I'll go through like a safety checklist myself, make sure everything's going to stay in my range. And then when he comes down, it's just, now do it with cameras.
We'll get to the safety aspect in a little bit. I think we have a video we need to talk about with that. How difficult is it to set up some of these shots? Because I know you guys are playing pool, you're thinking about it, but like some of these things where you're literally trying to line up bullets to impact on one another. I mean, not only do you have to line up that shot, but now you've got to get the camera in frame.
Yeah, because so a lot of it's a balancing act between what is going to be, top cinematography, what's going to be top safety, and what's going to be, well, safety for us, but also the cameras. Because when you're shooting around a $250,000 camera, you don't want fragmentation to go into that camera, obviously.
I've seen videos where the high-speed camera gets soiled or wet or whatever, and it's ruined. Those are not fun videos.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So it's really just a balancing act. I mean, obviously, and especially after the video you're referencing, I mean, safety is paramount for everything. And from there, it's now that we've established how we can do this safely, what's the best angles? How do we get proper lighting? Because lighting is extremely difficult when your exposure times are sub-microseconds sometimes. So just a lot. It's a lot to think about. So it really kind of depends. We use mirrors a lot. Like for when we shot the 9mm bullet into the axe and split that in half to get that top-down shot. We're not going to put a camera right above that. So we're shooting off mirrors and things like that. So, I mean, just little tricks, I guess, here and there. Or just really long telephoto lenses, keep the cameras far away. So it's just a balancing act.
So you guys have kind of emphasized, even before the video that we'll get to, but you guys have emphasized safety beforehand. Just watching some of your videos over the time that I've been watching it, I think it's pretty clear that you guys emphasize that. Because we've seen some channels out there where there's some content creators.
Yeah.
They don't.
And what's in the video is probably not even half of what we do.
Yeah.
If you oversaturate the video with it, we've even run into, like, we get it, like, just get on with the video. And it's like, well, but if we don't.
Right, because
there's a little bit of a balancing between going overboard and just oversaturating.
Well, because you can have duplicates. You have people out there going to copycat what you're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, they might, be that guy who blows up a refrigerator with a bunch of tannerite and then the door comes at him. And
that one was crazy.
Be such a good high-speed shot.
Video.
That one was crazy.
Smokes. That wasn't them.
No.
Because we would have got it in high speed at least.
Yeah, but that video went viral too for all the wrong reasons, but thank God they weren't seriously hurt.
Yeah.
So how many cameras do you guys typically have on any one shoot? Obviously you have your high-speed camera, but there's other stuff that's going on too. So how many do you guys usually have?
I'd say the most we've had is maybe 6 cameras. Because, like now there's the main high-speed camera. I have 3 high-speed cameras. One of them is just like the main one.
Okay.
So anytime we want to film above, 100,000 frames per second, it's the one camera is going to do that. And then the other ones are like the older flex camera, the V711. Those will capture, less speed, but really good quality. So we mix in like, here's the explosion and all the debris and high quality, but then here's the actual material coming apart. So we try to mix in multiple high-speed shots. And then we run a red cinema camera for all the normal stuff. And then from there, it kind of goes on like, do we want to throw a GoPro in somewhere dangerous or whatever? Or do we want to put a drone up to get an aerial shot? Or like in our most recent video, the colliding bullets, we had one of our friends run just a second camera at all times on us. So we could actually, communicate with each other better, me focus less on camera stuff and more on, doing the science with him. So it can be anywhere from like 4, 5, 6 cameras, but with a heavy emphasis on the high speed.
How long does your typical shoot last? Is it an all-day thing? Is it multiple days? I can't imagine it'd be quick.
No,
not at all.
I don't know. we probably, well, we can't start very early because we have to wait for the light to get there. So we'll probably start at maybe 10 or 11. And I mean, we go until the shoot's done, but 6, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Especially now when it's actually still
basically
light enough
if the lighting is usable, we're trying to get more angles, more footage.
Yeah. I would imagine summer's more productive for you guys then.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah.
All right. We're talking with Adam and Bryce. Again, they run a YouTube channel that you definitely need to check out. It's called Ballistic High-Speed. And again, they're located in Fort Wayne. They actually film in Wabash. So it's nice to have something like that, again, just in the state of Indiana in general, because so many of these creators that are well-known, like Brandon Herrera. So I know you got to spend some time with Brandon here recently, but they're all in Austin, Texas. And that seems to be where everybody is kind of moving to Austin, Texas to do this type of content. So it's nice that we still have that in Indiana. And of course, you guys are probably like, no, we're planning on moving to Austin, Texas. But
until I saw the prices of the houses.
Oh, yeah. Austin, Texas will do that to you real
I was
quick.
on a realtor site for about 2 seconds.
One of the fastest growing cities in the country. But Adam and Bryce, again, Ballistic High-Speed on YouTube. We're going to continue with them coming up on The Burning Truth. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning into The Burning Truth. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. We got Adam and Bryce from Ballistic High-Speed. Again, it's really, really cool. It's, I don't want to say gun channel. It's not right. I mean, you guys do ballistics, you do high-speed camera work with firearms and other ballistic type.
We try to stay more like science and education based.
That's the category YouTube has put us in.
Okay.
So it's okay.
All right. So do you guys run into a lot of the censorship issues that a lot of the other gun channels run into, or are you guys kind of left alone because of the way you present your content?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it happens, but not nearly as much as some guys.
Especially early on in the channel before we kind of established what we were, and YouTube was like, your production's good, but we're still not sure what you're after here. So early on we ran into some problems, but now, because like you have a trust factor with YouTube as a creator, and now that that's pretty well established, it's all right, I'll say.
Yeah. So we had one of these questions during the break. For those of you who are not watching the live stream on Rumble, is okay, you guys are on YouTube. That's your main platform, obviously. That's where you make your bread and butter and your money. But are you looking at alternatives to get off of YouTube just in case? Because we keep hearing about more gun content going down. YouTube seems to be coming after stuff. So is that an issue for you guys?
I mean, I wouldn't be against Rumble or something. I'm really eyeballing Pepperbox.
Okay.
Which was started by like the Unsub guys and Corridor crew. And basically they just took all of the major gun tubers and they started their own platform. And I don't know what it costs, but it's like one monthly subscription fee and you get access to all of those guys instead of having, 10 different Patreons that you subscribe to. You just one.
And then there's kind of like a revenue share, I assume.
Probably.
Okay.
We're not on it, so we don't know.
Okay.
Kind of hoping we get to a point because I kind of feel like that solidifies you as, one of the top ones.
I mean, listen, you don't have a small channel by any means. I mean, it's not the biggest one in the world, but you've got plenty of subscribers on here. Your goal is 1 million, but you're at 669,000, right
there.
around there. Okay, the ballpark number. And again, go subscribe to their channel because it is very educational. It's fun, but things do happen.
They do.
So I can't have you guys on and not talk about this. And it's, I was kind of asking Morgan, I'm like, you think it's okay? And she's like, well, they are talking about it. And I know that you guys spent some time with Brandon Herrera and others.
We did a pretty extensive coverage of it down in Texas on their podcast, a month after the accident? So it's all right.
All right, so I want you guys to present this because, Adam, you're the one that unfortunately had the incident. Bryce, you're his friend. You're filming this thing. I'd imagine that this is pretty traumatic for you.
Yeah, not the best thing I've ever captured.
Yeah, and for you seem like you're uncomfortable talking about it. So I wanted to make sure it was kind of okay that we brought it up. So, Adam, why don't you just tell us kind of what happened? What were you filming? What went down? And what actually ended up happening to you?
So we were using rocket launchers, an RPG-7, and we wanted to study the effects of, it's called backblast. It's all of the propulsion coming out of the rear of the Venturi. It's where all the gases go that move the rocket in the other direction.
Right.
And it's long talked about through militaries around the world that you always clear your backblast because it'll kill somebody. And so what we do is we take, questions that people have and we prove whether or not that's true. So,
do you really need to yell backblast area clear before you actually fire something off?
We kind of knew, but nobody's
you
ever.
And I knew because we served, but
Right.
there's the average civilian out there, they're like, nah.
Right. Because they get used to just blasting them off in Call of Duty.
Right.
And, so we put a dummy back there to see what it was going to do to the dummy. And then it's still kind of contested as to what exactly happened. But we do know that there's a bunch of charges in the motor of the rocket, and they're supposed to go off sequentially. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It slowly builds pressure. It gets forced through the venturi, and that's what generates the propulsion, I guess, out the other side. Something happened, and it went number 1, and then like 2 through whatever's left all at once. And the tube couldn't handle that, and so it just exploded. It essentially became a pipe bomb.
Now, for those of you who have not seen the video, Adam is holding an RPG, and it blows up in his hands while he's firing it. The video is, I would say that if you're sensitive, maybe don't watch it.
Yeah, I would say it's not graphic, but it's shocking.
Yeah.
Especially if you have PTSD or something. I mean, it can
be something that's
it can bring some stuff
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're obviously knocked out. You can see that you're out before you actually hit the ground. It's all caught in the high-speed camera. Bryce, you're obviously very concerned at that point.
Yes.
People kind of spring into action. Thank God you're okay. We've seen this. Who was the guy that had the 50 caliber blow up on him like a year ago?
Kentucky Ballistics.
Yeah, Kentucky
Scott.
Ballistics. He was messed up too. Now that's not an RPG.
Well, it's kind of an interesting thing because I've had somebody. I mean, I wouldn't ever really do this, but they were wondering which one was worse, Kentucky Ballistics or mine, and they're just totally different because all of my injuries were sustained instantaneously, and then from there it was just going to be whatever was done. Where Scott's, he's got a massive bleed from his carotid. So I mean, he's on a timer. He's on a timer the whole time. Where mine was injuries and done, he is, he's on a long plane.
Are you guys cool with sticking over for one more segment? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm on a hard break here for news, so I want to make sure that
gotcha.
I have time for you guys to tell the story properly. We got Adam and Bryce from, again, Ballistic High-Speed. Go follow their channel. Subscribe to their channel today. We'll be back with Ballistic High-Speed on The Burning Truth.
The Burning Truth with Casey Hendrickson.
Tuning into The Burning Truth, I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Joining us in studio are Adam and Bryce. They are from the YouTube channel Ballistic High-Speed, which is a high-speed ballistics channel on YouTube. And they're trying to get to 1 million subscribers. They got 669,000, give or take, and we would like to help them. But they're from Fort Wayne. So we have, a nice large channel who does this type of content in the area. I figured this is perfect for my audience. They love this stuff. Like a few of the recent videos, you got the bullet collision in slow motion. You've also got splitting the bullet with an axe. And you also have how much water is bulletproof. You got Full Metal Jacket versus Hollow Point, that sort of thing. That was a very interesting video, by the way. If you scroll down, you will start to see some RGB content, including my RPG 7 blew up. And that's where Adam sustained some injuries.
Yes.
And the guys have made it very clear that they try to be as safe as they possibly can. But if you have a catastrophic failure in your equipment, you have a catastrophic failure in your equipment. If you're going to watch that video, just know that it's, viewer discretion is advised. It's not gory or anything like that, but it's not pleasant to watch because you're watching somebody get seriously hurt. That's you, Adam.
Yep.
You were mentioning before the program, basically what happened is, the rocket is supposed to have stages of propulsion that comes out. Basically, they all went basically at the same time, and the tube couldn't handle it. It blew up in your hands. So what kind of injuries did you sustain from that?
So in total, I had a dislocated jaw, 3 broken bones in my face, a temporal skull fracture, a brain bleed, a TBI, 10 to 12% probably of my upper extremities were 3rd-degree burns requiring skin grafts.
Yeah.
And I have shrapnel throughout my right arm.
That what the black spots are? Is that all shrapnel?
Some of them are just carbon burns. So apparently superheated carbon reacts with one of the layers of the skin like tattoo ink. So some of these are actually just tattoos.
Okay.
But like that big one, like that's probably a piece of shrapnel.
Okay.
I pulled some out of there. And I still don't have some feeling in the right side of my face. And I can't ever get an MRI again.
Can never have an MRI. Okay.
That'd be a good high-speed shot.
Yeah, for reasons. So you get out of the military, you don't have a TBI. Now you got a TBI.
Yeah.
So is there anything that I missed? Because I know you're trying to explain it and we kind of condensed it a little bit. Because you guys did a full video where you watched the footage for the first time. Bryce showed you the footage.
Yes.
Bryce had already seen it a couple of times.
Plenty of times by that point.
Yeah, at that point you're sitting down, you're watching it for the first time. What's your reaction? What's going through your head? I mean, we're watching it on the video, but I just want to know what your thought process is.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of lived a life of action sports and adrenaline, and then through the military and deployment and all that stuff. So, I mean, to me, having seen my injuries firsthand, like through the hospital and everything, kind of expected it, but it was still just weird.
Sure.
It's a weird feeling watching like when it's you.
Well, especially since you don't have memory of it, right?
Yeah. Most of it, I mean, like as it was happening, I mean, I would just feel like stuff tingle and I like would start like want to itch.
So, I mean, how quick from the moment that you gave the countdown to go and you squeezed the trigger on the RPG, how fast was it where lights went out?
Oh, it's instantaneous.
Was it instantaneous?
You can see it in the high speed. It's instantaneous.
You had no sensation at all of what was happening to you at all.
Zero.
You're just clicking the trigger and boom, that's it.
Yep,
then you're waking up. And
Right.
it's always interesting when somebody wakes up after they've been knocked out. It's always interesting the first things that they say. And so, you should go watch the video.
Yeah.
But, again, viewer discretion is advised. And Bryce, you've seen this video tons of times. You're watching your friend get hurt. I mean,
Yeah, more than most people.
did I hear that your wife was on set that day?
She was. Yep.
Yep.
She's the one that grabbed the first aid bag.
How's she doing with all of this?
She seems to be doing really well with it.
All right.
I check on her every once in a while and seems to
you're
be doing good.
You're doing okay?
Yeah.
Bryce,
I mean,
you
I
doing
feel
okay?
worse for Bryce.
No, so I notice things because I work with veterans, I work with people at PTSD, I noticed immediately after, as Bryce is kind of going through this, that like I want to make sure you're okay. Like, you good?
Now?
Well, yeah, now.
Yeah, I think
mean,
so,
I know
yeah.
you've had some time and you have some distance, but it was just like I was watching.
No, I mean,
he clearly bothered you.
Well, I think the only tough part was that was my first and really only experience with actual, I don't know if trauma is the right word.
Yeah, that'd be the right word.
Okay.
Plenty of trauma to go around in that one. There's no doubt about that.
Because what's difficult to convey to people if they've never experienced it is what happens to your brain when you experience true raw shock.
Right.
Which is, I mean, the answer is nothing. Like in your brain for a moment is nothing goes on because you're just not sure what to do. And so you see videos of, people freaking out over stuff happening and you're like, why are you freaking out? Just call 911. It's easy. Until you're in the moment and your brain locks up because, like, from my perspective, I thought Adam just got blown up because, like, through the smoke, the only thing I could see was like crumpled up pieces of body on the ground. So and then looking over at his wife, seeing that she's pretty much thinking the same thing, like that seizes up your brain for a solid minute or two.
It's also very different when it's somebody that you care about.
Yeah.
And, you could see that on the camera when you guys did your follow-up video where you kind of broke it down on what happened to the RPG, what happened to Adam. Have things changed on set for you guys since then? Because you were pretty careful beforehand, but again, things happen.
Yeah.
Have you guys changed anything with how you do your shoots now?
I think it's just more reinforced what we were already doing. And now we spend a little bit more time on camera explaining the safety process. Okay. And Adam and I have more conversations ahead of a shoot on what's going to be involved for safety, especially the bullet collision episodes. Like that was extensive conversations of how can we space this out? What are our angles going to look like? Like we did like math and physics calculations to figure out, worst case scenario, where's this shrapnel going to end up? How fast is it going to be going? And then what's our process for working around this 90-degree dirt and wood berm so that we can work near it, get footage out of it and be safe, especially since we had 2 other people on set with us. Yeah. So it becomes like a controlled set that you need to make sure nobody's going to get hurt. And so when we're doing all of this effort to do that, Adam and I are very distinct with our communication to each other, even if it's just, the range is now hot because a bullet is in a chamber, even if it's just as simple as that. And so many people complain when we do that process because it's like, yeah, we don't care, just get to the high-speed footage or whatever. But like, it's important to us because, Adam has his, level 4 plates on, a helmet, a riot shield, loading these guns because they're essentially aiming at each other, 6 to 10 feet apart. If he doesn't let somebody know and they walk around that corner and one of the electromagnets decides to go off, there's bullets flying through the air now because his finger's not controlling the trigger anymore. It's electromagnets. So it's, I don't know, it's reinforced. Let's think about it more. And I don't know, it's the same stuff we were doing. It's just at a higher level, I guess.
Safety first, science second.
Yeah. And I think it's important to explain that stuff. I know that people complain about it when you have, firearms instructors and things like that are going through this process on YouTube. But I mean, you have to hear it. Because if you hear it, maybe you're just watching, you haven't actually done any of the stuff yet. When you hear it, at least you're going to be thinking about it when you actually do go to the range. So I think it's important. I think it's good that you guys are doing that. What's the most fun that you guys have had? Like, what's a video that stands out for both of you that was just a blast? To go ahead and...
Man.
Please don't say the RPG.
Well, not that one, but... Man, I think driving that car down the hill.
That's true. When we shot the RPG at the car, and so we normally don't do the whole like over the top intro thing or like skits or stuff like that. But that was the first time where we had enough fun or like enough time that we could think about like what's a funny intro we could do. And so this was a car that wasn't running, so we had it towed up a hill. And we all sat in there with a camera person, recorded our intro while we're neutraling down a hill that was actually really bumpy, and he actually lost the brakes. And it was just like, it just made for a really funny intro because like we were actually a little worried for a second.
Yeah, I was going to fake it, and I think you might have even said something like, hey, like, you need to slow down, like, we need more time. And I was like, no, actually, we don't have brakes right now.
Every now and then I guess we're a little bit silly. I mean, the most... Shooting the 9mm into the axe was genuinely fun because we both surprised ourselves. Like, you shoot a bullet at an axe and you split it perfectly the first try, both of us.
Yeah,
that was fun. But I don't know. They're all cool in their own way. I think the most satisfying episode is the bullet collision episode because that was a year and a half of work and preparation and just buying different hardware and testing stuff for so many months, and then having another camera person on set so that we could just focus on the work. Like it felt like a really mini Mythbusters like experience. And it was really cool. So that I think that's the direction we're gonna try to head more, is those types of productions, because like it just felt satisfying that we both achieved. I got some of the best high speed I've ever gotten. He put together some really complicated hardware. I mean, put it together in a simple way that worked well. So I think he got to use his brain really well on the stuff that he enjoys. So it was overall a really good one.
Do you have anything in the can right now that's going to be coming out soon that you can tease? Or have you guys still got film?
Yeah, we had the 7510.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were just in Pennsylvania. We recorded 2 more episodes that dive into high explosives again, because we've formed a pretty good relationship with Vision Research. They're the company that makes the Phantom high-speed cameras.
Yep.
And so I have their V2512, and they now have a model called the 7510, which can easily record 1-2 million frames per second at decent quality, which is really helpful for explosives. So we went back out there. We looked at shape charges, different penetrating abilities with copper versus glass versus just an explosive using gas but shaping it in a direction. So we got to have some fun out there. We put a shape charge on top of a ballistic head, just being goofy with it. We're seeing like how many heads can this explosion get through, that kind of thing. So, but you could see it in like extreme detail on like how the shape charge actually unfolds and that kind of stuff. So that's...
We'd done a lot of the stuff that was used for the shape charges.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool being able to see only what we used to see with the 2512. And then now that this thing was there, it was like, oh, there is so much more going on here than, I mean, there's a still shot from it on our community post that is just, I mean, like, it's crazy looking.
It looks like a nuclear explosion in the distance, but it's because it's high speed. It like scales differently.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. So again, people will be looking for that coming out in the Ballistic High-Speed channel. So guys, how can people follow you on all your socials and everything else?
Pretty much the same name everywhere. Ballistic High-Speed, mainly on YouTube. YouTube's where all the good stuff goes. Instagram will get kind of like behind the scenes content, or if we make a short version of a video, we'll put that up on Instagram too. I'll say Facebook exists just because it does.
Patreon gets like additional shots. There's chances for like merch and stuff over there. We're on X. I run that one. I don't do a whole lot on it, but
so really YouTube is your main thing, and then Patreon, of course, for exclusive content, which helps fund everything that's happening with you guys anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Adam, Bryce, Ballistic High-Speed, go subscribe to their channel. When you comment, let them know that you watched them on the show. Would really appreciate that. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
Drove here from Fort Wayne to appreciate your time, and thank you for creating great content right here in Fort Wayne.
Cool.
So
thank you very much.
All right, we got more coming up. You're tuned into The Burning Truth.
Podcasts by Federated Media.